They call it Whisper House, the house that devours families. Every family Claire Hensley sold it to vanished. No notes, no calls, nothing. Just empty rooms and whispers in the walls. Tonight, you're about to step inside. Will you listen, or will you disappear too? Hey everyone, welcome back to Silent Scream, the place where true fear lurks behind ordinary doors. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button because you're about to hear stories that will haunt your thoughts long after the lights go out. Today, we're diving into Whisker House, a home with a dark secret, where voices in the walls aren't just whispers, they're warnings. Stay with me if you dare. Claire Hensley had sold hundreds of homes in her career, but Whisper House was different. From the outside, it was ordinary, a two-story brick colonial with neatly trimmed hedges, a porch swing, and windows that gleamed in the morning sun. But every family she'd sold it to vanished, gone. No notes, no calls, no forwarding addresses, just empty houses left behind, as if the residents had evaporated into thin air. She had never believed the rumors, the whispers, the strange local warnings about the voices in the walls, until the first night she stayed over herself. A soft, almost human murmur seeped from the walls, rising and falling like breathing. It was faint, seductive, luring her toward the attic. Her pulse raced. The house had a rhythm of its own, a heartbeat beneath the floorboards, and for the first time, Claire understood the truth. The house didn't want tenants. It wanted something else. Now, holding the keys for the newest family, she felt the familiar creeping dread. Every creak, every sigh of the wooden floors, every muffled whisper from behind the wallpaper. It was all a countdown, and she knew the house was hungry again. Claire drove up the winding lane leading to Whisper House as dusk swallowed the suburbs in an orange haze. She checked the address on her phone, then the neatly printed contract in her hand. The Parkers, a young family with 2 small children, would move in tonight.
Get out before they find you.
They were hopeful, trusting her, unaware of the house's history.
She's here again.
At first, nothing seemed wrong. The exterior gleamed, the lawn was immaculate, and the freshly painted walls smelled faintly of vanilla. Yet, as she stepped inside, she felt it. The stillness. The kind of silence that stretched past ordinary quiet, settling in the pit of her stomach. Claire had grown used to it, the unease, the small hairs standing on her arms when the front door clicked behind her. But tonight, it felt sharper, alive. She imagined the Parkers arriving any minute, unaware that the house already knew they were here. By the time she led them through the rooms, the sun had dipped below the horizon. Shadows cooled in corners, elongating unnaturally. Mr. Parker made a joke about the creepy attic, and Claire forced a smile. "Oh, it's just old wood. Nothing to worry about." After they left, Claire lingered. She lit the fireplace in the living room, watched the flames dance, tried to shake the cold prickling her skin. Then she heard it, a faint voice, barely audible, coming from the walls behind the staircase. At first, she thought it was a neighbor, some prank. but the words were hers, or seemed to be.
Claire, come upstairs.
Her breath hitched. She tried to convince herself it was imagination. Yet every night, for the past 5 years, the same voices had returned. New families, the same whispers, the same hunger. The next morning, she called the Parkers to check if they'd settled in. No answer. She tried again. Nothing. Her stomach dropped. She drove over, hands shaking, heart hammering. The house stood silent, perfectly preserved. But inside, every room was empty. Beds untouched, plates still in the cupboards. The children's toys lay scattered in the living room, but the family, they were gone. Claire's legs nearly gave out. She ran through the house screaming their names. The walls seemed to pulse, throbbing in time with her heartbeat. And then she heard it again. The whispers, soft but insistent, echoing in the hallways, stairwells, and behind every door.
Claire, we're waiting.
It wasn't the first time. She knew what came next. The house didn't just eat families. It tested them, broke them down, whispered their deepest fears until they followed the sound into the walls, never to be seen again. She couldn't stop herself from climbing the attic stairs. Each step groaned under her weight, as if warning her. At the top, the whispering was louder, words she shouldn't hear. Phrases she didn't remember thinking, promises she didn't want to keep. Her reflection caught in the old mirror at the corner of the attic, but it wasn't quite her. It smiled when she didn't. It beckoned. She stepped back. The walls seemed to breathe around her. She remembered the stories. Each family's disappearance, the police reports closed without leads, neighbors insisting the house had a soul. But this wasn't a soul. It was something older, something that consumed. And tonight, it had found her.
Claire, welcome. Make her stay.
Over the weeks that followed, Claire tried to keep her routine normal. She sold houses, met clients, smiled, nodded. But Whisper House haunted her every step. She dreamed of voices in the night, doors closing behind her, laughter echoing from empty rooms. Friends noticed her exhaustion, but she waved them off. She couldn't tell anyone. No one would believe her. One rainy evening, she returned to Whisper House alone. She didn't know why she went. Perhaps guilt, curiosity, or something darker. The rain tapped against the roof, blending with whispers that seemed to seep from the walls themselves. Suddenly, a child's giggle rang out. A little boy, maybe 5 years old, appeared at the bottom of the stairs. "Mommy?" he asked. Claire froze. She knew there was no child. None of the families existed here anymore. "Go back," she whispered, shaking. The boy smiled, impossibly wide, impossibly wrong, and ran up the stairs, vanishing into the attic. Claire's rational mind screamed, but her body followed. She climbed after him, each step heavier than the last. The attic door opened on its own. Inside, the walls were lined with portraits of the families she had sold the house to. Each face frozen in terror, eyes wide, mouths open in silent screams. The boy stood in the center, staring at her. "We're waiting," he said again. The whispers intensified, crawling over her skin, filling her ears, invading her thoughts. They were no longer just voices. They were memories, fears, regrets, all twisted together into a grotesque lullaby. Claire tried to leave, but the door slammed. She pounded, screamed, clawed at the wood. It wouldn't budge. And then she understood. The house didn't just trap families. It trapped their memories, their fear, their very essence. And it had chosen her next. Days later, another family arrived. They were greeted by the same cheerful real estate agent, Claire, smiling and professional. She showed them the rooms, laughed at their jokes, answered questions. But inside, she was listening, waiting, learning the rhythm of the house once more. Whisper House was hungry. And now it had her. The family never heard from Claire again. The house sat quietly on the suburban lane, pristine, welcoming, ordinary. Windows glimmered in the morning sun. Neighbors whispered about the Parkers, about the previous residents, about the real estate agent who had vanished. But no one looked too closely. The house had a way of keeping secrets, and it thrived on the unspoken. Inside, walls pulsed like a heartbeat. Voices murmured softly, carrying names, promises, and fears. Claire's voice joined them now, laced with desperation and resignation, teaching the new family what it meant to listen. From outside, everything seemed calm, but those who stayed too long could hear the faintest whisper in the walls, a voice, sweet and chilling, calling their names. And if you listened closely, you could hear Claire smiling. Whisper House was ready again. Now, holding the keys for the newest family, she felt the familiar creeping dread. Every creak, every sigh of the wooden floors, every muffled whisper from behind the wallpaper. It was all a countdown, and she knew the house was hungry again. If Whisper House sent chills down your spine, hit that like button and subscribe for more stories that will haunt you o' nights. Don't forget to ring the bell so you never miss a whisper, because here, the horror doesn't stop when the video ends. And remember, sometimes the walls are listening.